Somewhere out there right now, someone is standing in a garden center, staring at a banana plant and talking themselves out of it. Too tropical, they're thinking. Too complicated. Better leave that one to people with greenhouses and acreage and mysterious expertise they don't have. That person is wrong. Bananas are more growable than their reputation, more forgiving than their image, and more rewarding than almost anything else you'll put in your garden. But they do have a few specific needs that most guides gloss over completely, including one sucker management mistake that quietly kills your harvest before it ever starts, and a harvesting window that most people miss in both directions, too early, too late, and never figure out why. If you want real fruit that you grew in your own backyard, stay with me. Most people rule bananas out before they even look into it. They assume it's a tropical fantasy, something that works in Hawaii but not in a regular backyard. Here's what the plant actually needs, and it's a lot less exotic than you've been led to believe. Bananas came from Southeast Asia. Hot, humid, heavy rainfall. That's their home base. But over centuries of cultivation, they've spread into enough different varieties that the tropics-only rule has a lot more exceptions than most people realize. The variety you choose matters enormously. For most backyard growers, the Cavendish group is the starting point. It's popular for a reason. If you're in a cooler climate, Blue Java handles lower temperatures better than most and is worth tracking down. Ladyfinger varieties are smaller fruit but dramatically sweeter, the kind that makes supermarket bananas taste like cardboard in comparison. Temperature is the real ceiling. Below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, most banana varieties will die. Even cold hardy types stop fruiting around 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're in a genuinely cold climate, you're looking at containers you can move indoors or a heated greenhouse. That's the honest version. One more thing before you plant anything. Source matters. You cannot dig up a sucker from a neighbor's garden and call it a day. Bananas are susceptible to serious diseases, bunchy top virus for one, and certified disease-free stock is the only way to start clean. Your local agricultural authority can point you in the right direction. Worth the extra step. There's one planting mistake that kills more banana plants than pests, disease, or neglect combined, and it happens before the plant is even in the ground. People dig a hole, they put the banana in the hole, they fill it back in, and then they wonder why it's struggling 6 months later. Bananas do not go in holes, they go on mounds. Here's why. Bananas are thirsty plants that also rot fast in waterlogged soil. Planting on a raised mound, even just a few inches above the surrounding ground, gives the roots the drainage they need while still letting you water heavily. Dig in, loosen the native soil, pile on compost, and mound that up around the base of the plant. Keep building the mound over time. It sounds small, it makes a real difference. Beyond that, full sun all day. Not morning sun, not dappled light under a tree, all day. Bananas run on sunlight and they are not subtle about it. Airflow matters more than people expect. A plant sitting in a humid, still pocket of the garden is essentially an open invitation for fungal disease. You want gentle ventilation. A gentle breeze is your friend. Wind, on the other hand, is the enemy. There's a meaningful difference between good airflow and a location that takes the full force of every storm. Wind shreds banana leaves, and shredded leaves mean reduced surface area, which means less energy reaching the plant. A windbreak on the prevailing side is worth thinking about at planting time. It's very hard to add later. Space your plants 6 to 8 feet apart minimum. A mature banana is bigger than most people picture. The bunch alone can be nearly as wide as your arm span. 2 plants crammed together will compete for water, nutrients, and light. Give them room. Bananas will survive neglect. They're tough. They'll push out some leaves, produce a diminished bunch eventually, and carry on. But if you want fruit worth eating, there's a feeding rhythm you need to follow, and it changes depending on where the plant is in its life. Early on, nitrogen is your priority. It drives the leafy growth that builds the plant's energy capacity. Once you see the fruit bunch forming, shift toward potassium and phosphorus. That's what drives fruit development and ripening. A monthly feed is the baseline. Chicken manure pellets, compost, a liquid organic fertilizer, whatever your preference, just keep it consistent. Some growers add a foliar spray every month or two for a nutritional boost on top. It doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to happen. Water, roughly 60 liters per plant per week during dry weather. That is not a typo. Consistent moisture is critical. Bananas that go through long dry spells won't fruit well even if everything else is right. A note on soil chemistry. Dolomite applied around the base gives the plant calcium and magnesium, both important for plant health and energy production. The catch is dolomite raises soil pH and bananas prefer slightly acidic conditions. So the move is to apply dolomite, wait about a month, then correct with iron sulfate to restore the balance. It sounds fiddly at first. It becomes routine. Mulch generously. As it happens, banana plants generate their own mulch supply. Dead leaves pulled from the base can go right back down around the plant to retain moisture, suppress weeds, and feed the soil. Convenient. If your bananas are disappointing, small fruit, sparse bunches, or nothing at all, this is almost certainly why. Most home growers have never heard of it, and even people who have heard of it don't always apply it correctly. Here's the thing about banana plants that changes how you think about the whole operation. Each stem only fruits once, one bunch, then it's done. The plant itself doesn't die, but that particular stem is finished. The way you keep getting fruit season after season is through suckers, the new shoots that emerge from the base. Leave them all to grow, and you get a crowded, energy-starved tangle that produces small, disappointing fruit. The art is managing which ones stay. The rule is 3 per clump. Think of it as a family: grandmother, mother, daughter. One is fruiting right now, one is growing towards its turn, one is just coming up. That's your cycle. That's how you maintain a continuous supply. When a 4th pup appears, remove it. You can replant it elsewhere. Sucker propagation is genuinely easy, but it does not belong competing in that clump. Every extra pup draws energy away from the fruit you're trying to grow. Not all suckers are equal either. Narrow, sword-like leaves at the base, strong root system. Keep those. Broad, flat leaves emerging close to the surface, weaker, underdeveloped roots. Take those out. After a stem finishes fruiting, cut it down. Remove it cleanly to the base. Banana weevil likes to burrow into the base of old stems, so a clean removal reduces that risk. The cut material can go back on the garden as mulch, just not near other banana plants. And the leaves, keep them as intact as you can. Every green inch is a solar panel. If sigatoka disease appears, browning and yellowing from the leaf tips, trim only the brown part right along the stem. Preserve everything green. The leaf is still working. Most home growers get harvesting wrong, either too early because they're anxious about animals or weather, or too late because no one told them what to actually look for. The window is specific. Timeline first. Roughly 12 months from planting to harvest, give or take depending on variety and climate. Once the bunch forms, you'll see the flower, a dark purplish bell dangling below the hands of fruit. Once you have 6 to 8 hands of bananas, remove the bell. It's only pushing growth you don't need at that point. Cut it, and that energy redirects straight back into ripening the fruit already there. The ripeness cue is not color. That's the mistake. By the time bananas go fully yellow on the plant, you've waited too long. What you're watching for is the ridges along the length of the fruit starting to smooth out and the fruit beginning to swell. That's your signal. Support the bunch before you harvest. A full bunch is heavier than it looks and will snap the stem in a strong wind. A simple prop underneath, even a forked stick or a piece of conduit, costs almost nothing. When you harvest, bring the whole bunch down. Let it ripen in a cool, dark place for 4 to 8 days. If you want to speed it up, separate a hand, seal it in a paper bag with an apple, and the ethylene from the apple will do the work. After harvesting, chop the spent stem down and use it as mulch for the plants coming up below. The grandmother steps aside, the mother takes over, the daughter starts her climb. The cycle continues, and it keeps going as long as you manage it. If you end up with more bananas than you can eat, and you will, freeze them for smoothies, dehydrate them into chips, bake with them. A glut of homegrown bananas is genuinely a nice problem to have. Enjoy it. If you started this video convinced that backyard bananas were out of reach, hopefully that's shifted a little, because the plants themselves aren't the obstacle. The variety, the mound, the sucker family, the feeding rhythm. Get those 4 things right, and the fruit follows. Turns out bananas don't ask for much, just sun, water, and someone paying attention. What variety are you working with or thinking about starting with? Drop it in the comments. I'm always curious what people are actually growing. Hit like and subscribe if this was useful. It genuinely helps. And the next video, the algorithm's already picked one out for you. Based on what you just watched, it's probably a solid call. It's right there.